Thank you for joining me today. A friend recently popped by and asked me if I would make her some soft toys, and she gave me these two fabrics. I have one concern about these fabrics, and that is that when I put the stuffing in, that these bubbles are going to disappear. I'm obviously going to have to line the fabric with something in order to keep this feature of this fabric. So let's get on with it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to iron the pieces and then the calico that I found. Ironing the pattern is a personal choice. Some people don't, other people do. I prefer to, because then everything is nice and flat. Especially when you've got such small seam allowance, you don't want to lose anything. What I've done is I've folded the calico, which gives me a straight edge here, and measure in from there. That's 4 and a bit. Actually, that's pretty straight. So if I put 4 1/8 there to that fold, and I'm just going to put a pin through the top layers. Then I'm going to do the same here, which is exact, perfect. That'll keep most of that in line. I'm just going to put a pin in the center of there, like that, and another one down here. You don't have to pin it too close to the edges, you just got to hold it, pin there. I'm going to cut this piece out very carefully. This arrow here means you either have to follow the warp or the weft threads, and those are the ones that go side to side or up and down. They are quite important, especially if you're doing dressmaking. You really need to keep those in line. And I am going to make my way around the outside of this pattern in the calico. I will do this with all pieces. I'll measure out where the warp and weft threads are, and then cut the item out. I've just cut into here, and I often find it easier to come in at another angle and cut into those sharp corners, because paper really doesn't like to be twisted up very much. So I'm going to just cut into there, and again I'll just pull in here and in like that, and then I'll come up here to the other corner. There's a little clip here. I always clip in, but it's such a small distance, I'm only going to put a small clip in because I don't want to go all the way in. Some people will cut those around, but I've found over the years when I've cut it out, I've ended up cutting it off later on, and it's like, okay, I might as well have just done it the way I wanted to do it in the first place. As with the giraffe piece I've just cut out, I'm going to line that up, both ends of the arrow, and again I'm going to pin along the arrow and then down into the extremities, because I don't want those twisting, and I'll cut this one out. This is a knitted fabric, and all of these dots go in line, so you don't need to measure out your distances. The fabric also has an up and down, and that's down. Pop him on top like that and line his arrows. Now it's a little bit loose on the outside, so I want to come in from the selvage a little way. I'm going to line that going in between the little dots like that. I think that's where I want to go. I've just got to make sure that that covers everything, and make sure that the fold is also following the dots. Pull that out like that. I think that's it. I'm going to pin him into position like that. If I didn't have the dots to follow, I would have folded the fabric like I had and then measured in from the side. Oh dear. No, I don't think that's going to work, because when I push those down they kind of rise up. That's not good. Okay, mark 2. Let's see what we can do. I have a feeling because of the way it is, it's just going to wrinkle up anyway. I don't really want to do them one piece at a time, but if I have to, then I will. Let's see if I can pin this into place and it not do what it was doing. I just have to make sure that I have the right pieces. Cut one out this way and one out facing the other way with this, and then just collate them all together when they're cut. It does slow things down. This is not the first time I've had to do this with odd fabric, but I'd much rather be precise and have limited trouble than be winging it and cause all sorts of problems. Just carry on round. I have one side of this cut out. I'm going to fold that piece up together like that, and then I'm going to flip this and get the next section worked on and cut out there to there. Perfect. I'm going to work my way across here. Actually, with this it's not so bad because it's only two pattern pieces, so 4 sides per animal, but I still have to make sure I've got everything. It's a Saturday today, so although I'm working on a project, I'm not working very hard. And then cut that one out. Always make sure that the fur is going in the same direction. You don't want one side going up and one side going down, especially if you're having to do it this way. I had sewn in various places on the sewing machine. This is the worst place. The thread didn't even pick up on the other side, and even when I sewed it from this side I found it a little bit difficult, and I'm thinking mainly because I was trying to fit it between the 1/4 inch and the outside. I'm just going to carry on pulling this out. It was just a nightmare. I'm going to pull it out per stitch because I don't want to ruin the cut side of the fabric more than I need to, and then carry on hand sewing it into position. I don't like doing things wrong, but I do experiment so you don't have to. Some areas I can do it as a running stitch, and others I've had to do it as a stab stitch. The fabric rolls, it's so soft, and I'm thinking where it gets stuck is when it goes into where those bobbles are, because the knitted back is quite firm, so I'm sure that's where the problem lies, just there. And I'll carry on up here and get this sewn in. First part I've got to do is sew the dart for his bottom, so he'll sit nicely. I'll pop that there, slide this underneath here about 1/2 inch, and I'm going to lower the needle into the fabric like that and raise it so it doesn't push everything through the hole, and then drop the foot onto it. Now I'm running the raw edge on the inside of this foot. This foot doesn't go with this sewing machine. The foot that goes with this sewing machine is a little bit too wide, but I do know with this machine and this foot that this needle here is 1/4 inch away from the inside of this foot, which is why I'm using it. I'm going to reverse back and then move forward. 2 stitches, raise it, drop it, because the fabric wants to curl up. And I am going to sew all the way to the end of this here. I have discovered that using my screwdriver helps me gauge where I'm going, and also helps all that fabric through and forward and back there. I noticed that the walking foot doesn't really give me what I want either on here. Let's have a look. What I can see here is my stay stitching. I'll pull that out in a while, and I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. Put that into position, lower the needle, pop the foot down, reverse first. The fabric's just trying to come up there. I don't want that to happen. Push that fabric down, put the foot down, and then come all the way to the top end here and reverse. There we go. We'll start at the bottom. The corners are meeting, so everything's in line. Both raw edges are together. Slide that under there about 1/2 inch. Lower the foot, lift it. It's still holding everything in position. Reverse first. Keep those raw edges together. I'm going to work my way up just a little way. Make sure that that and that are in line. Just a couple more stitches and reverse. So I need to have an opening in the back to put the stuffing, and then I'm going to work from the top of his head the same way. So all those raw edges are together like that. Oops, daisy. Slide it under 1/2 inch. Line everything up, reverse, straighten out the fabric because I don't want that messing. Then work my way round to the back of the neck here, keeping everything straight. So I'm coming into the back of the neck to there, lift the foot up, twist the fabric, pull that out just slightly, and I'm going to go about 1 inch from there down so that that's all in line, and then I'll reverse. So I've got a little opening there for when I stuff the animal, but that seems to have gone in, and now I've got to do the front. I've lined up the head like this, pop this underneath here, about 1/2 inch in, lower the needle, bring it back up, and then put the foot down. Reverse first. It's starting to twist up, so each time I have to push that all the way down. I'm going to line up all the raw edges and then feed it through so that I keep everything even. End of his trunk there. I don't have a sharp turning, so I'm just going to ease it around like that until I'm in position. Twist it once, down, twist it again, because it's not a square on trunk. I'll go down here and then on round. Ease all of this around here. Make sure the ends are where they're meant to be. Make sure it's there again. Forward and back. I was gaily sewing and I realised that I'd actually forgotten to put the dart in for his mouth. Pop that under here. It's a bit awkward because usually I leave 1/2 inch to the back, but I don't have that much distance. Put the needle down and bring it back up so it doesn't push all the fabric into the bottom there. Reverse. Because I've lined it, the lining sometimes just pops back up. If you line yours, just make sure that it's down. And I'm going to go straight to the corner here and off, and then back. And I'll do that on the other side. I'm going to line up the seams of that like this, so that they're in line. And I'm going to pop that all lined up under here. I'm not lowering the foot just yet. What I am going to do is put the needle down and then put the foot down on top. Hopefully everything will line up. I'm going to come round to the top of the head like this. Keep it all even like this. Forward and back and finish off. And come in just above where I started sewing earlier, because the mouth should stay as is. I'm coming over the stitches from the top there and into place here and round down the neck of the giraffe. I had got halfway up the neck, so I'm just going to pull that into line and go over my stitches a little way, and that should be done. It moved a little bit, but I think it'll be fine. It's okay. He's got a bit of a smirk on his face, kind of like he's smiling. Put a pin through there for now and through there. Pull this back so that I can see where the tops of those eyelashes are. Okay, so I'm going to try pencil. If this doesn't work, I'm going to have to go up to see my friend and see if she has one of those dressmaking pencils that I can borrow. But there we go, that's working well. I'm just doing the outside top at the moment, and then I'm going to come all the way down here to the base and put them in. Put that back up, and I'm going to do it the other way around. So I'm going to come up from the bottom here, doing exactly the same. They're three quite close together, and then bringing that out. I'll put the other ones in on this side, and I'll do the same on the other side. I found some embroidery floss that I've had probably about 30 years, because I don't remember the last time I was doing embroidery, and I have taken it down to 3 strands. I don't think I need more than that for this little part of the project. Okay, put my little knot at the end. So I've marked where the eyelashes go, and I'm going to put a pin at the top, pin at the bottom like that, and then the pin in the middle. I don't want any of that moving. Now I'm going to go up through the base there, then back. I'm going to hold it both sides of that with my finger and my thumb like that, and pull it through. And then I'm going to go through the top here, straight down. I should have left the head unsewn. It would have been a little bit easier. Come at the bottom like that, and just make sure that the eyelashes aren't too tight. Back down there like that, and then back up through the top here. Pull it through, and then back down and through the bottom here. I'm going to make sure that that's not too tight on the other side. They look okay. And then I'm going to do the same for the bottom 3 eyelashes. Make sure everything's tight, and then through. It's quite simple. I couldn't find chenille to do these out of, so I ended up having to make them out of a slippery fabric. So I've just put some stitches through both sides until they've held. I think they're about the same length. But the other thing was I couldn't find any trim that I really liked. The trim has to go from that point there down to this point here. They had interior decorating trims, but nothing for little children. It was all grown up. And I could have got one of those, but the ridge along the back would have been quite firm because of the plastic used in holding them together. Or the way that they were put together would have been quite rigid. But I do have to make sure that the loose trim goes towards the giraffe like that, so that when it's all sewn together it sticks up like that. I'm going to play and see what I come up with. All I've done is I've folded that over and stitched it into place. I'm going to cut here to about the same height, and because I want to jazz it up a little bit, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pink and orange next to it like that and sew those into place as well. And I'm going to make my way down the centre back like this until I get to the other end. Sometimes you have to think outside the box when you do things. I'm going to twist that up like that, so that one goes into there next to it, and I'm going to sew that one into place too. I've got to be very careful because I can't put it too far in because I don't want my stitching to show. But this is basically how the trims are done anyway. They just twist everything up like that to hold it, and then cut the fringe to the length that they want it. It's going to take a little minute for me to get down. I hope I've got enough. I only bought 1.5 yards to do this, so I am restricted with what I've got, but I think that's going to go in quite well. And it's time consuming. It wasn't what I'd planned to do today. I can mix it up and match it, and when I sew it in I'll just make sure that all of these are facing the same way. There we go, cut those two, and then I'll put, I don't want all the pink together, I don't think. Maybe I'll flip that and put that and that together, but I'll put the blue on the inside again. It's going to take me a little while to get all the way to the bottom, but I think this little project will work out quite nicely. I've put a couple of stitches in to hold the horns at the top. I've worked all my way down, and I was right, there's the clip. If I'd purchased a little bit more I could have just gone on the other side of that clip, but I think that'll be fine. I'm going to pop those together and sew down the back to here, making sure that those are all straight. I've just put the top in, I've put the needle down through, lower the foot, and I'm going to reverse first and then go forward. I'm going to try to keep this level with the back there and ease it on round. It just needs a 1/4 inch seam, so it is only small. Line it all up. I've pinned it where I want to stop at, so it's even on both sides. And then I'll come round here and finish where my pin is. And reverse. That's not too bad. I think that's okay, considering I had to put the trim together myself. The horns are there. I'm going to line that seam up with that seam and put a pin down from the top through to the bottom there. I think that went in straight, just to start off with. And I will do the same with the bottom here. There's a seam there and a seam there, so if I pin that into place. I'm really not worried about anything else because I've got to pull that in anyway. The inside of here is the smaller side, and obviously the back is a little bit bigger, so I'm going to do it with the front on top of the back. I'm going to line up the legs like that and pin those into place too, just so that as I move around everything is kept together. Same here, just pop that there. Now fluffy fabric has a tendency to walk against itself, so hopefully, because it's a soft fluffy fabric, it won't do that. And the same on this side. Now I'll do the ears. I think what I'm going to do is start at the top of this ear, pop that under there, pop that down, and using this I'm going to just guide it around. There we go. Just going to make sure that everything that I'm sewing in is in line, so I've pinched that there up to the top, and so I need to make sure this is a 1/4 inch seam allowance as I go around. It's a little bit tighter on the front than the back, and I should get that in place. I'm starting at the centre bottom, so the centre of the back and the centre of the front should be lined up or pretty close to it. So I'm going to go back a couple of stitches, and then I'm going to go forward. I'm holding the two raw edges together like that, and I'm going to make sure that that feeds through a 1/4 inch seam allowance. It's going to take a little bit of time to get round, especially as I have to pull this out in a minute so that it gets its shaping. Pull that, there we go, as I go round the dart at the back. Pull those into line like this, and I'm going to make my way around just a few stitches at a time. I've just started my thread here along the back. Now I've gone in where I've already stitched it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch along here, which is go in to one side along the fold like that and out, and then go in the opposite side where you come out, which is about there, in on that side and across and out. Because of the shaping, the stitch is going to be about 1/4 inch long. I am going through the calico as well, and I'm going to try to keep those as even as I can as I go down. I've also taken all the stay stitching out that showed. So if you've used this method and you've put stay stitching in, just go round and take your stay stitching out. And I'm going to do this to the giraffe as well. Pull it tight so that the stitching doesn't show. And then I'll sew over here and the cast off. I'm going to back stitch these on. It says running stitch, pull that through. I'm going to go back a short distance and then forward. And I'm coming in just inside the edge of the white fabric there, like that. And then again here, down, and a little ways forward. I'm going to try to keep it as even as I can. I will say my eyesight isn't very good and my fingers don't work quite as well as they used to. So if it goes in a little bit squiffy, I'm not going to worry too much. So I'm going to do that all the way around the white of the eye first. I'm using the pin just to hold it. The felt that I've got is a little bit thin, I think, because I can see the inside of the lashes. But once the black of the eye is on there, it won't be quite so noticeable. This is going to work perfectly. If they vary in length, it's not going to be a problem. I'm going to sew on the iris of the eye. I'm also trying to do a back stitch with this, but because it's black on black, I can't actually see it. So I'm just going to do the best I can to hold it. Either his nose or his ears get in the way. I'm just going to sew this into position on top of here. This is how they showed you in the instructions, but you never know if they actually, for the photo, whether they draw lines around the eyes to give you that black look and then glue these on. Just because they tell you that's what they do doesn't mean to say for the photo that that is exactly what they did. I'm going to just do the best I can as long as they're secure and they're not going anywhere. That's all that matters. And then I'll get the other eye on. Thank you for joining me on this video. I hope that I managed to impart some useful information. I am actually quite pleased with these. The ribbon I think could have been a little bit thicker, but it was the only ribbon that I could find that I really liked, and my friend might change her mind and put something else on. That's entirely up to her. Remember to take any stay stitching out if you can see it, if you've used this method of lining the fabric. I think all in all they've come out quite well. I like the eyes. I think those are quite pretty. So if you'd like to see more from me, please subscribe, hit the bell button, and a few thumbs up would be perfect. And in the meantime, take care. See you later. Ciao.